What's up, everybody? All right, in a lesson, kind of playing a little bit of that Hendrix style stuff. Let me show you what's going on there, and I want to make it applicable and use a little bit of theory. We're going to tie some of the guitar neck together. This is a great lesson to really get to know the guitar, the fretboard. It is in my, this little section is in my course too that I'm going to come out with, so that's why I wanted to kind of throw it out here. But this little riff, I love it. I mean, it's all improv, but let me just show you what's happening here is I'm just taking that D major pentatonic, and this is movable, but any major bar chord, major bar chord, D major bar chord, that starts on the 5th fret of the 5th string. So any one of these bar chords, you can sort of move this little exercise around. But got it? You're gonna slide from the 5th fret. You're gonna go 7 to 9. So right now, your first finger covers what your 3rd finger was doing, and you sort of have this like 9th fret on the 3rd, 9th fret on the 4th string, and then back down to like 9, 7, 5, right? And you just mess around with that. Right, I sort of attack that 7 real quick on the top string, the E string. So what's really going on here is we're sort of connecting this D major bar chord to the D major pentatonic scale, right? So if you look, right, I'm switching this out, and now if I'm using this 9, 7, 9, 7 on the 3rd and 4th string, what I'm actually doing is taking the notes from my D major pentatonic. Right? Now I've sort of switched, and where your first finger was to cover that bar chord is really now covering the back end of your D major pentatonic. That's great. Now, if we kind of push this a little bit further, all right, so this is where it gets a little bit interesting. When we talk about the course that I'm coming out with is sort of like theory for guitar players. Now, music theory itself isn't different for guitar players than it is for other instruments, but using the guitar as the means to understand the theory, that just makes it all the more practical. And that was how I very luckily learned when I was going through high school and then on into Berkeley, was learning sort of composition and music theory. And then I also had a guitar teacher that would teach me theory and how to understand it on the guitar. Theory does sort of get a little conceptual, right? If you don't have an instrument that you can really tie it to. So, and that's why this instrument's great for it. So now we have that D major bar chord. We're moving up here to do our little riff. Now we're noticing we're playing our D major pentatonic. What this does now is if I go up here to this D major bar chord, I now have my D major scale. So now I've sort of tied together this whole part of the neck, right? Now I'm covering a lot of ground here. Now if I move back to the pentatonic position, and the last step to this, to push it just a little bit further, is can I play a D major scale? Maybe. Could I play a D major scale, but starting on this A? Right now, I have all of this ground. So if I have... Now I'm back up into this sort of major pentatonic position, up to this major scale in a normal position. And I have all of that to mess around with. That's when the guitar neck itself really does start opening up. What I didn't put in here too, if you can kind of go through this video a little bit slowly if I'm moving forward a little too quickly, is even going down the neck now, where I have this form of a D. Right now, I can even learn a D major starting on this F sharp. Technically Phrygian. If I started on this A like I did before, the scale shape itself is technically A mixolydian. For you guys that know that, major scale with a flat 7. So A mixolydian, but because I'm not playing an A7 and I'm playing a D major, it's only the form of an A mixolydian, but really it's a D major scale that I'm just starting on the A. This is when modes, which is a huge part of the course that I'm creating, don't just become scalular. They make sense. There's a reason for them, right? There's a reason for playing that position, right? Is that you're still playing a D major scale, you're just using the A position of it, right? Where right here, we're playing a D major scale and using the D position for it. I can move that down. Now I have this, you know, sort of like my C shape of a D major chord, right? You guys can kind of follow that C major and move it up to D, right? Now it's almost like a Phrygian F sharp. Now that I'm playing, and I've just managed to cover from the 2nd fret, right, all the way up to this 14th fret, all in D major, just by using some of these key components and some of these sort of pivot positions. So that's what my course gets into. Go through this video a little bit slower. If it's difficult, I know some of you guys are definitely able to kind of get that together, but it's funny because it really just starts with like, ooh, what's going on there? You know, and then it could sort of spiral off into like, oh, we can use this to get around the entire guitar. So hope you guys dug that lesson. And I'm gonna do a beginner video soon. I've kind of got a little bit more teaching. So thank you guys.